Hello friends. About 99% of friends who watch my videos are not subscribed, and I would be very happy if you did. Also, don't forget to press the like button and leave your comments. Your interaction makes the content reach everyone and helps the channel grow. Also, let me know in the comments from which country you are watching the video. It started with blood on the windshield. Not splattered from a bird or bug, but thick, dark, and smeared like someone dragged their fingers across it from the inside. I was hauling a late-night load through West Texas around 2:40 a.m. when I noticed it fresh, wet, and impossible. I hadn't hit nothing. The road been empty for miles. No deer, no possum, not even a tumbleweed. I pulled over to check, heart thumping like a drum solo, and found not a single scratch on the grill. No remains, no evidence that anything had ever made contact with my rig. But that red smear was real. I could smell the iron in it. I wiped it off, fingers trembling, then stood there in the cold silence with the engine humming low, just staring into the desert black. That's when I saw the girl, pale, long hair, just standing by the shoulder of the road like she'd always been there. No shoes. Just a torn dress blowing in the breeze that wasn't even blowing. I called out, "Hey, you all right?" But she didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't even blink. I'm not proud to say it, but I got back in the cab and locked the damn door. Something about her felt off, like looking at a picture that's been warped just enough to make your brain itch. I figured maybe I was tired, seeing things. Drove off, heart still hammering, and checked the mirrors every 5 seconds. She was gone. I was 40 miles down the road when my CB crackled to life with static in a voice I hadn't heard in years. "You should have stopped, Danny," it whispered, clear as crystal. Thing is, only one person ever called me Danny, and he'd been dead 12 years. A buddy of mine, crushed under a flipped reefer outside Tucson. I damn near swerved off. "Road," the voice was his. Same calm tone he used to use when we were stalled at way stations, talking about the old days. "You should have stopped," it repeated, louder this time. I yanked the CB from the dash and tossed it on the passenger seat, chest tight. I didn't know what the hell was going on, but I knew this wasn't something you explained to dispatch. I drove another 10 miles with my hands lockjawed to the wheel, staring at the dark ribbon of asphalt ahead, when my headlights caught something sprawled across the road. My foot hit the brakes hard, skidded to a stop inches from what looked like a body. Heart in my throat, I jumped out, flashlight in hand, and swept the beam over the figure. But there was nothing. Just a pile of old clothes and a set of bare footprints leading off into the desert. No body, no blood. Just footprints, ... still fresh in the dust. I looked out toward the nothingness and felt it that cold crawl up. Your spine like a spider just slipped down your shirt. I wasn't alone. And the road ahead was a lot darker than it should have been. I climbed back into my truck, hands still shaking, and slammed the door shut. Locked it. Twice. I sat there for a minute, breathing heavy, trying to calm down, trying to make sense of what just happened. Maybe I was overtired. Maybe I needed to pull off and get some rest. But deep down, I knew this wasn't about sleep deprivation. I'd been running long hauls for over 2 decades, seeing all kinds of weird stuff on the Denson road. But this was different. The blood, the girl, the voice on the CB, the footprints. It was like the road was trying to play tricks on me, or lead me somewhere. Against my better judgment, I kept driving. The desert night swallowed my headlights, and the silence in the cab grew thick, like the air itself was listening. I turned on the radio just to have some noise, but all it gave me was static, then cut to a slow, scratchy tune I didn't recognize, some old-timey country ballad. It sounded like it was playing on a broken phonograph. No DJ, no station. ID Just that eerie, warbling voice singing about loss and wandering. I changed the channel. Same song. Changed it again. Same damn song. Every knob, every preset, same slow, mournful voice. You can drive, but you can't run down this lonely stretch of sun. Every mile you leave behind, someone's waiting in the pines. I turned the radio off. Dead silence. Then something thudded on the roof. Hard, like a sack of concrete just landed up there. My heart kicked into overdrive. I slowed down, stared up through the windshield, trying to see if anything was on. The roof. I couldn't make out nothing but stars and the occasional streak of a cloud. Then came another thump. Closer this time. Like whatever it was moving. I heard the metal flex under its weight, creaking softly with each step. My mind raced. Coyote? No way. This thing was heavy. Then claws. I swear to you, I heard the sound of claws dragging along the roof, slow, deliberate, like nails on a chalkboard. The screeching dug into my brain, made my teeth ache. I couldn't take it anymore. I slammed the brakes, the whole rig lurching to a stop, and threw the door open. Grabbed my flashlight and shined it straight up. Nothing, just the usual. Rust and paint, maybe a few oil stains. I circled the truck, checked the trailer. Not a damn thing. But when I got back inside, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The passenger seat was soaked. I hadn't noticed it before, but now it was obvious. The cushion glistened under the cab light, damp and dark. I leaned closer and gave it a sniff blood. Fresh, metallic, unmistakable. And scrawled on the fogged up passenger window were 5 words. You left me behind, Danny. I backed away from the seat like it was on fire, heart slamming in my chest. I didn't know who or what was messing with me, but this thing knew my name, knew my past. And it sure as hell wasn't done with me yet. I sat frozen in that seat for what felt like hours, eyes locked on those words etched in fog like some kind of accusation from beyond. You left me behind, Danny. My pulse thudded in my ears, louder than the idling engine. I wiped the window clean with my sleeve, like maybe if I erased the words, I could erase the fear, too, but the message was burned into my brain. I ain't never been the type to spook easy. I've driven through tornadoes, blizzards, and gang-run ghost towns, but this was different. This wasn't weather or bad luck. This was personal. Someone or something was riding with me, and it wanted me to know it. I didn't wait around for another sign. I slammed the gear into drive and peeled off that shoulder like hell was on my tail. I must have been going 80 down that dark stretch of highway, wheels howling on the asphalt. I didn't care. I just wanted distance. But the road didn't. Seemed to agree. It twisted. It stretched. Signs I'd seen 20 miles back started repeating. A rusted green one with Las Golondrinas 13 miles, printed in faded paint, kept passing by over and over again. Same dent in the bottom. Same bullet hole through the E. At first, I thought I'd taken a wrong turn. Then I thought maybe I was losing it. But when I passed that sign a third, then a fourth time, I realized the truth was a hell of a lot worse. The road wasn't talking me anywhere. I was trapped. The desert night pressed in on all sides, and the air inside the cab grew heavy, thick like syrup, making it hard to breathe. My headlights began to flicker, once, twice, and plunged into total darkness. I couldn't see a damn thing. Not the lines on the road, not the dashboard, not even my own hands. I slammed the brakes, panicked, but the truck kept rowing, gliding like it wasn't on the ground anymore. Then silence. Engine gone. Lights dead. I sat in the pitch, black with only the sound of my heartbeat keeping me company. I reached for my phone, but the screen stayed dark, no matter how hard I pressed the buttons. It was like everything electrical had just died. Then, just when I was about to step outside, I heard it. Breathing. Slow, ragged, and close. Real close. I held my own breath, straining to hear more. There it was again, raspy, wheezin', like someone who'd been running for miles. And it was comin' from the sleeper behind me. I turned, slow as molasses, and stared into the darkness of the cab's back compartment. I couldn't see nothing, but I felt it's something back there watching me. My skin crawled, every hair on my body standing straight up. And then, the voice. You always drove away, Danny, even when I was screaming. It was right behind me, right there in the dark. I didn't even turn around, I just bolted. I fumbled for the door handle, nearly tore it off, trying to get out. I hit the ground hard, gravel scraping my hands, and I took off running down the highway like a madman. My boots pounded the asphalt, lungs burning, heart ready to blow out of my chest. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I didn't want to see whatever was in that sleeper cab. I didn't want to see what had been waiting there all along. But you know what the worst part was? The road behind me. It wasn't empty. It should have been flat desert. No cover, nothing but cacti and dust. But I swear to you, as I ran, I kept hearing footsteps. Not Echo's footsteps. Another pair, perfectly in sync with mine, just half a second behind. And every time I slowed, they slowed too. I wasn't alone on that road. Something was following me. Then the whisper started again. Not in my head, not some sleep-deprived hallucination, but right there in the open air. Whispering like dry leaves rustling. In the wind. Why'd you leave me, Danny? You promised you'd come back. So cold, so dark. I staggered off the road into the brush, trying to hide, crouched behind a rock, gasping. I'd lost my truck, my gear, my radio, my damn mind, and now I was crouched in the desert with a ghost on my tail. I tried to piece it together. Who was this? What was this? The voice felt familiar. Not just scary familiar, but painfully familiar. And then it hit me like a freight train. Her name was Ellie, my sister. She was 13, and she died in the back seat of my dad's truck the night I ran away. I was 17, angry, selfish, and tired of being the screw-up. I swore I'd come back for her once I figured things out on my own. I never did. The truck crashed. She didn't make it. I carried that guilt like a boulder for years, but told myself she wouldn't have blamed me. But now she was here. Or something weird in her voice was. My legs gave out under me. I sat in the dust, heart breaking, eyes filling up, with tears. I'm sorry, I whispered, voice cracking. I was a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't mean to leave you. And from the darkness came the reply, so close I felt the breath of it on my neck. But I waited. Danny. I waited forever. I froze. Every muscle in my body, locked up like ice, had seeped into my bones. That breath on my neck, it was real. It wasn't in my head. I could feel it, warm and wet, and I swear I could even smell it, like earth and decay. I turned my head, slow and shaky, just enough to see behind me out the corner of my eye. And there she was. Or what used to be her. Ellie. But not the way I remembered her. Her face was pale and thin, cheeks hollowed out, eyes too wide, too dark, like they held every shadow in the world. Her long brown hair hung in stringy, wet clumps like she'd just crawled out of a lake. She was smiling, but it wasn't right. It wasn't her smile. It was stretched too wide, teeth too white, like someone had taught her what a smile looked like, but didn't get it quite right. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't scream. I just sat there, stunned stupid by the sight of her. You forgot me. she said, and her voice cracked like old wood. I waited and waited, but you never came back. I tried to speak, but the words stuck in my throat. All I could do was shake my head, whispering, I didn't forget you. I never forgot you. Her face changed. The smile dropped. The eyes grew darker somehow. You moved on, she hissed. You ran off and left me in the dark. And now, she leaned closer, so close I could see the dead veins in her skin. I came back to ride with you? I scrambled backward, my hands flinging gravel everywhere, trying to get away from her. She didn't chase me. Just stood there, watching, that twisted smile slowly returning as she tilted her head like a curious animal. I ran, not toward the road, not back to the truck, just into the open desert. I didn't care where I went, as long as it was away from her. But the desert wasn't empty anymore. Shapes moved between the cacti. Human shapes. Too many. All of them standing still, facing me. Some wore tattered clothes. Some were soaked like they drowned. Some were burned, scarred, melted. But they all had the same empty eyes. Eyes. Like Ellie's. And they whispered all together, like one voice broken into 100 throats. We ride with you now, Danny. We ride with you forever. I dropped to my knees. I couldn't run anymore. I couldn't hide. Whatever I'd done, whoever I'd left behind, all of it had come back, not just to haunt me, but to claim me. I don't know how long I sat there on my knees, covered in dust, breathing heavy like my lungs were full of ash. The wind had picked up, dry and mean, whipping sand across my face, stinging my eyes, but I didn't move. Couldn't. I was surrounded. All those faces. All those souls I must have passed by in my life. Maybe ones I'd forgotten, or ignored, or left behind without even knowing. And Ellie stood in the middle of 'em, staring right at me, like she was the one leading the whole damn pack. You don't get to run no more, she said, and her voice wasn't just in my ears. It was in my head, in my teeth, vibrating behind my eyes like it was part of me. You drive and drive, but we're always ridden with you, Danny. Always. Have been. I didn't understand it at first. But then I thought back to all those strange halls, the chill I'd get out of nowhere, the weird dreams, the static on the radio, the passengers I'd swear I'd see in the mirror, just for a second, before disappearing. It wasn't just tonight. It had been happening for years, and I'd just brushed it off. Bad sleep, road fatigue, imagination, but they'd been there, all of them, watching, waiting, ridden along, my whole life. That realization nearly broke me. I fell forward, hands digging into the desert dirt, choking back this low, broken cry that I didn't even know was in me. What do you want from me? I finally gasped. Why now? Why are you showing up now? Ellie stepped closer. The others followed in silence, their feet not even kicking up dust, like they weren't really touching the ground. You're close, she said, kneeling down in front of me. You're almost there. One last stop, Danny. Just one. I shook my head. Stop? What are you talking about? She leaned in till our foreheads almost touched. Her skin was cold. Not cool cold, like a freezer door left open too long. The place you tried to forget. The place you ran from. You have to go back. And just like that, everything changed. The wind stopped. The desert disappeared. And I was back in the cab of my truck. Just sitting there, behind the wheel, parked on the side of a dark highway. No blood, no whispers. No ghosts, just me in the silence. I looked down. My phone sat in the Q folder, screen lit, GPS glowing like a beacon. One destination punched in. Rose Hollow, NM, my hometown. The place I hadn't seen in 20 years. The place where Ellie died. The place I swore I'd never return to. But the map was clear. A red line stretched from my truck all the way there, like the road itself was demanding it. My hands were already on the wheel. My foot hovered over the pedal. And somewhere deep in my gut, I knew this ride wasn't over. It was just getting started. I stared at that GPS screen like it was some kind of curse branded into glass. Rose Hollow. Just seeing the name made my chest tighten up. Memories I'd buried under years of diesel fumes and long hauls came boiling back like a busted radiator. My old house sitting crooked on its foundation, the cracked swing on the porch, Ellie laughing in the yard with that pink ribbon in her hair. And the accident. God, the accident. I gripped the wheel tighter, knuckles white, palms slick with sweat. Every cell in my body screamed to start the engine and drive the other way, but I didn't. My hand reached out on its own, like it belonged to someone else, and turned the key. The engine rumbled to life, smooth and deep, like it had never cut out to begin with. The headlights flicked on. The road ahead was empty, still and waiting. I shifted into drive and pulled back onto the asphalt, the GPS softly beeping with each turn ahead. The weird thing was my fuel gauge hadn't budged. I'd been driven hard for hours, maybe longer, but I was still full. The mileage counter wasn't twitchy neither. It was like time had folded in on itself, like the road wasn't playing by the usual rules anymore. I passed towns I didn't recognize, gas stations that looked abandoned for decades, and stretches of highway that looped through forests I knew damn well didn't belong in this part of the state. The deeper I went, the weirder it got. A truck passed me, once an old Peterbilt with rust down the side, but the driver didn't look at me. He just stared forward, stiff as a corpse, hands glued to the wheel. His rig had no lights on, and when I checked my mirror, he was gone, just vanished like he was never there. Then came the signs. Not road signs, wooden ones, hand-painted, crooked, warped. One read, "She's still waiting." Another, "Don't leave again." One more said, "This time stay." I kept my eyes forward, jaw clenched, trying not to let the fear dig too deep. I was a trucker. I kept moving. That's what I did. You drive through storms, through the night, through whatever the road throws at you, but this felt different. This road had teeth. Hours passed, or minutes, I couldn't tell. The air got colder the closer I got to Rose Hollow, like I was hauling straight into winter, even though it was the middle of July. My breath started fogging up the windshield, and every so often I'd catch shapes out in the fog walking alongside the truck, just walking. No destination, no rush. Faces, turning slowly to watch me as I passed. No eyes, just hollow sockets where eyes should be. And every single one of them had that same look. Not angry, not sad, just disappointed. Like they all knew I was too late, like I'd already failed. But I kept driven, 'cause that's all I could do. The town limit sign for Rose Hollow rose out of the mist like a tombstone. The thing was so rusted over I could barely read it, but the shape was burned into my memory. I hadn't seen it since I was 17. Funny thing is, nothing looked different. The buildings were still leaning the same way. The gas station with the old Coca-Cola mural still had that bullet hole dead center in the O, and the diner still had that busted neon open sign flickering like it was trying to stay alive. But the whole place was dead quiet. No cars, no lights, no people. Just a town locked in time, like someone hit pause and never came back to press play. I coasted through Main Street, my headlights sweeping across boarded-up windows and cracked sidewalks. I should have been seeing folks walking dogs, kids riding bikes, but there was nothing. Not even the wind. The air felt thick, like I was driven through syrup. I passed the old post office, the church, the school, each one sending a fresh chill down my spine. Every building held a memory I didn't want back, and yet they were all flooding in. I could almost hear Ellie's laugh echo off the bricks, could almost see my dad sitting on the porch drinking coffee at dawn, boots up on the rail. The GPS beeped again. One more turn, one final destination. And I already knew where it was taking me. Home. I turned down Sycamore Lane, the street narrower than I remembered. Trees hanging low and gnarled like they were leaning in to listen. My headlights swept across my childhood house-peeling paint, roof sagging, windows dusty and blank. But the porch light was on. I hadn't even noticed till I stopped the truck in front of the driveway. That old yellow glow. Same bulb that had been there the night I left. Still working. Still waiting. I killed the engine and sat there, hands on the wheel, staring at that house like it was a coffin with my name on it. Then, movement. Behind the curtain in the front window. Just a flicker. Quick. Like someone peeking out to see who'd come home. I stepped out of the cab, gravel crunching under my boots, the night colder now than it had any right to be. I should have been sweating in this weather, but I could see my breath drifting out in clouds. The porch creaked under my weight. As I stepped up to the door, that familiar groan sent a shiver through me. I raised my hand to knock, but the door opened before I touched it, just eased open slow. And standing there was Ellie, the real Ellie, 13, hair brushed and neat, that pink ribbon in place, but her eyes were sad. So damn sad. She didn't speak, just looked up at me like I'd been gone 10 minutes, not 20 years. I felt my throat tighten. I came back, I whispered. I'm here now. She stepped aside, motioned for me to come in. And the second I crossed that threshold, everything changed. The air inside the house was heavy, thick like a basement sealed for decades. The walls looked the same faded wallpaper, same cracks in the ceiling, but everything had a strange stillness to it, like the house had been holding its breath, waiting for me to walk back in. The second I stepped over the threshold, the door creaked shut behind me on its own. I didn't even flinch. I was past that now, numb almost. Ellie walked ahead of me down the hallway without making a sound. Her feet didn't even press into the old floorboards, and her pink ribbon bobbed with each step like it was caught in a breeze I couldn't feel. I followed her, passing photos on the wall that hadn't changed in 20 years. One of me and her sitting on the front steps, grinning with popsicles. One of Mom and Dad, back before everything went bad. I reached out to touch the frame, but the second my fingers brushed it, the glass shattered inside without breaking outward. It just crumpled inward like it was swallowing itself. I pulled my hand back, heart pounding, and looked ahead. Ellie had stopped at her bedroom door. She turned, looking up at me with those sad eyes again, and then opened the door. The room inside was exactly how she left it. Toys still in place. Bed neatly made. Her favorite stuffed bear sitting right in the center like it had been. Waiting for her all this time. Except every color was wrong. Everything had a grayish tint to it, like the whole room had been drained. I stepped in, heart in my throat. Ellie sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded in her lap. "Why didn't you come back sooner?" she asked, voice so soft it barely moved the air. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice from cracking. "I was scared," I said, ashamed. "I thought I'd just make it worse." "You already did," she said. And when she looked up again, her face had changed. It wasn't gray anymore. It was hollow. Eyes sunken. Skin pale and paper thin. That same dead version of her from the highway. And her voice turned low, twisted. "But now you can stay. Now you don't get to leave again." The walls of the room groaned. The floor buckled under my feet. The air turned ice cold. I backed toward the door, but it slammed shut, nearly taking my hand off. Shadows poured in through the cracks in the walls like smoke, climbing and stretching like they were alive. I turned, tried to wrench the door open, but it wouldn't budge. And behind me, Ellie started humming that same old lullaby Mom used to sing, except it was slower, off-key, and somehow wrong. I turned back to face her, and she was floating now, a few inches above the bed, eyes black, mouth open wider than it should have been. And the house whispered with her voice. Every room, every wall. We ride with you, Danny? We've always ridden with you. I threw myself at the door again, shoulder slamming into the wood like a battering ram, but it wouldn't give. It was like the house itself was holding me in place, like it had grown roots around me and wasn't letting go. The shadows were climbing now, stretching up the walls, crawling over the ceiling like a tide of ink. And Ellie, she wasn't Ellie anymore. She hovered there in midair, limbs twisted like marionette strings pulled too tight, her head cocked at Anne. Angle that didn't make sense, like someone had snapped it and forgot to set it right. Her eyes were pitch black, not just dark, but hollow like doorways into some other place. Her voice kept singing that lullaby in a slow, sick rhythm, like a record that had been melted in the sun. You left me in the dark, she said again. Only now her voice echoed not just in the room, but in my head, my chest, deep down in the marrow of my bones. So now you live in it. I backed into the corner of the room, heart jackhammering, sweat freezing on my skin. Ellie, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to leave you. My voice cracked, caught somewhere between guilt and panic. I was a stupid kid. I didn't know what I was doing. She floated closer, her toes dragging just above the floor, leaving black streaks in the old carpet. The humming stopped, and in the silence I heard voices, dozens of them, not just Ellie's, but others, all around me, whispering from inside the walls. You left us too, Danny. We waited. You never came back. I dropped to my knees, hands covering my ears, but it didn't help. Their voices weren't in the air. They were in me. My blood, my heartbeat, my thoughts. I slammed my fists into the floor, screaming into the dark. What do you want from me? Ellie's face was right in front of mine now. Her eyes searched mine, black and endless. You don't get to drive away from this, she whispered. This is the last stop. And suddenly everything exploded. The windows shattered inward. The shadows surged like a wave, slamming into me with a cold that cut to the bone. My lungs froze. My vision went black. I felt like I was falling, but not down. Inward, deeper and deeper into something I couldn't escape. I saw flashes, my rig burning on the side of the road, Ellie screaming behind glass, 100 faces pressing against my windshield, mouths open in silent cries. The road winding into darkness that never ended. I was trapped in it, ridden in circles. No exits, no rest stops. Just the endless hum of tires and the dead watching me from the mirrors. And in the seat beside me, Ellie, smiling. Always smiling. Keep driven, Danny, she said. You belong to the road now. And I did. I woke up behind the wheel, or maybe I never left. I don't know anymore. The lines between dream and real had blurred so bad they'd become one long, unbroken stretch of road that looped back into itself. My hands were on the wheel. The engine was humming soft, steady. Outside the windshield, night. Endless, moonless night. The kind where the stars feel too far away to matter. The road ahead looked familiar, too familiar. Same cracked asphalt. Same flickering green sign. Las Golondrinas 13 miles. The exact same one I'd passed again and again hours ago. Days, weeks. Time didn't feel right anymore. It ticked differently here, like I was outside of it, floating along a stretch of highway that didn't exist on any map. I looked over. Ellie was in the passenger seat. Still 13. Still wearing that pink ribbon. But she wasn't twisted or floating now. She looked calm, almost peaceful. She turned to me, her voice soft and strange. "You get used to it." I couldn't speak. My throat was dry as gravel. I wanted to scream, to cry, to stop this truck and run until my legs snapped. But I didn't. I kept driven, because that's what I did. That's all I could do. And the CB crackled again. Not static this time, a voice. Old, rough, familiar. "Breaker 19, Danny boy? You still ridden?" I snatched the mic like it was a lifeline. "Who is this?" My voice sounded thin, fragile. Not mine. "Long haul, partner," the voice said. "You're in it now." Another voice. Joined in. Then another. All familiar. All from drivers I knew were gone. Dead. Lost. Vanished without a trace. "We're all still ridden," one of them said. "Same stretch, same loop. Same ghosts. Ain't no getting off this road," another chimed in, voice distant, hollow. "We all had our chances to make things right. You missed yours too." Ellie turned her face toward the glass, looking out at the desert that wasn't a desert anymore. Just blackness, shadows shifting like waves. "You left too much behind," she whispered. "Now we're all here, together, forever." I looked in the rearview mirror. A line of trucks was stretching behind me, headlights dim and flickering. Some had no drivers. Some had shadows in the cab, all following the same endless path. All trapped like me. I don't stop anymore. I don't sleep. I just drive. I see things on the road, faces I forgot, folks I failed. Sometimes I hear their voices in the engine. Sometimes they climb in for a few miles and whisper secrets in the dark. My tires never wear out. My fuel never runs dry. And every sign says the same thing now. Las Golondrinas 13 miles. I think that's hell. Not fire, not demons. Just the open road forever, haunted by the weight of the things we didn't fix, of the people we didn't save. So if you ever hear me on the CB, late at night, asking for directions, or just talking into the dark, don't answer. Let me keep driven. Let me stay lost. It's where I belong now, with Ellie, and the rest of them, ridden forever. Sometimes I wonder if I actually died that night, if maybe. The rig did crash out there in the desert, and everything since has just been the long ride to whatever waits on the other side. But if this is the afterlife, it ain't pearly gates or fire and brimstone. It's asphalt and taillights, diesel fumes and static on the radio. That's all I know anymore. There ain't no sunrises out here. Just eternal twilight, like the world stuck between night and day, never picking a side. The sky stays dim, a purplish black, and the moon, if you see it at all, looks cracked like an old windshield. Every now and then, I pass places that look like they should be familiar small towns with old diners. Rest stops with broken signs, gas pumps coated in dust, but they're always just a little off, like reflections in a dirty mirror. I stopped. Once, early on, pulled into a gas station that looked just like one I remembered off I-25. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd found a way back. The pumps didn't work. The lights inside flickered like they were underwater. I stepped in, calling out, "Anyone here?" But the only thing that answered was the hum of a fridge full of rotten sandwiches. And behind the counter, a mirror. Just one. But when I looked in it, I didn't see myself. Not exactly. The man in the reflection had my face, sure. Same scar above the eyebrow. Same tired eyes. But his mouth moved before mine did. He grinned, wide, wrong, and he said, Keep driven, Danny. You're almost home. I backed out of that place and haven't stopped since. Not because I'm trying to escape. I gave up on that. No, I keep driven because the road won't let me stop. Every time I pull over, the truck starts again on its own. The wheel turns like it's got a mind of its own. The gas pedal presses down like an invisible boots on it. And the voice is God. The voices, they get louder when I try to rest. They whisper things I don't want to hear. Tell me stories I never knew. People I forgot. Screams I ignored. Every mile I travel, I feel them settling deeper into the cab. Like they're part of the seat cushions, the dash, the glass. Sometimes I catch glimpses of them in the mirror. Not just Ellie, anymore, dozens of them. All the ones I passed by, drove past, didn't help. Truckers, stranded drivers. Folks who vanished off the highway, their names buried under red dirt. And worn tires. They're my passengers now. And I'm their driver, not by choice, but because I belong to the road. You hear stories about haunted highways, black dogs in the road, ghost hitchhikers. I used to laugh at all that, but now I know better. I am the story. I'm the voice on the CB that never signs off. The headlights in your rear view that never pass you. The truck parked at the rest. Stop with the engine running and no driver inside. So if you see me out there, if you hear me late at night, call in for a check-in or humming a lullaby through the static, don't answer. Don't flash your lights. Don't honk your horn. Just keep driven. Trust me, you don't want to ride with me. You don't want to end up on this road. Because once it's got you, it never lets go. I don't know how many years have passed since I first hit that cursed stretch. Could be 5, could be 50. Time don't move normal here. The radio still crackles like it's alive, sometimes picking up old conversations from truckers who should have died long ago. I heard my old friend Hank once clear as day laughing about a joke we shared back in Missouri in '97. Thing is, Hank's rig was found upside down in a river back in 2003, but his voice comes through every now and then, yoking like he's still out here ridden, same as me. It ain't just him. Sometimes I hear dispatches from stations that were torn down decades ago. Once I even heard my old CB handle, Whiskey 10, getting called like it was a live check-in. When I answered, all I got back was a woman's voice whispering my name over and over till it faded into static. I ain't alone. I'm never alone. Even when the mirrors show nothing, I can feel them, my passengers. They never speak unless the truck's in neutral. That's when they come alive. I learned that the hard way, pulling into a canyon once, trying to wedge myself between rocks to get some sleep. I'd barely shifted out of gear when the air turned ice cold, like I'd driven into a freezer. Then came the knocks inside the trailer. 1, 2, 3, slow and steady. I climbed out with a crowbar in hand, heart pounding, and flung open the latch. Nothing, just the dark yawning back at me. But when I turned around, every window in my cab was fogged, and written on the inside were dozens of messages, scratched like fingernails in condensation. You drove past me. I screamed. You didn't stop. Now you're ours. After that, I stopped trying to stop. Even when the eyes in the mirror look like mine, or the faces on the roadside look like someone I know, I don't break. I keep going. That's the deal now. Drive, or let the past catch up. Sometimes I see families, full damn families standing by broken down sedans in the middle of nowhere, waving for help. Sometimes it's a kid, barefoot, covered in road dust, crying into their hands. And I look straight ahead. My hands grip the wheel tighter, because I know now it ain't real. It's the road testing me, tugging on the guilt I carry like a trailer full of bricks. But I can't afford to stop. Not anymore. Ellie rides quiet most days. Sits in the passenger seat, staring out the window like she's trying to remember what stars looked like. Sometimes she hums that lullaby, again real soft, like wind, slipping through a crack in the door. Once in a while, she turns to me, those black eyes softer than they should be, and she asks, "Do you think we'll ever find the end?" And I don't answer, because I don't know. Maybe there ain't no end. Maybe the road just keeps stretching like this forever, looping through all the pain we never faced, all the ghosts we left behind. But still, I drive, always driven, because somewhere deep in me, some stupid, stubborn part of my soul still believes that if I keep moving, if I keep the wheels turning, I might finally earn my way out. Or maybe I'm just buying time. Maybe this highway's my coffin, and the miles are just the nails being hammered shut, one stretch at a time.